All right, this lesson is on the properties of numbers. And basically what this comes down to is in the same way that, letters in the alphabet, they have certain properties that cause them to serve a function in certain words or sentences, and our English language has a structure, and our alphabet has properties that enable us to use English, okay? In the same way, math, numbers, and operations have properties or characteristics that can help simplify some things for us and help us understand how to solve certain kind of problems. If things are written a certain way, you can recognize, oh, this is this kind of property, and you can solve it easily. Okay, so the first one here is the commutative property, and basically it just means if you're adding or multiplying, you can switch the numbers around, and it's the same thing. So let's look at this first example. 3 plus 8, we know that equals 11. So 3 plus 8 is the same thing, is equal to 8 plus 3. 8 plus 3 also equals 11. Okay? Does 11 equal 11? Yes, it does. So all that changed was the 3 and the 8 got flipped. Okay? That's with addition. With multiplication, 5 times 7 is the same thing as 7 times 5. And both of those equal 35. So adding and multiplying the 5 and 7 just switched. 35 equals 35. The associative property is when you're adding or multiplying, and this usually happens when there's 3 or more numbers. When you're adding or multiplying, you can just change where the parentheses are, meaning you change how you group the numbers. So if we look at this first one with addition, we have 4 plus 5 plus 1 is the same thing as 4 plus 5 plus 1. We didn't switch the numbers around, rather we switched the parentheses to a different spot. So in the first one, 4 plus 5 is in parentheses, and the second one, 5 plus 1 is in parentheses. Okay? Let's go and work this out. Using our order of operations rules, do the parentheses first. So 4 plus 5 is 9. And over here, 5 plus 1 is 6. Okay? Back to the left, 9 plus 1 equals 10. So that's one side of it. And then we have 6 plus 4 also equals 10. Okay? 10 equals 10. All right? So associative property, all that's changing is basically the parentheses. All right? You're not actually moving the numbers around themselves. What about multiplication? Same concept here. Okay? 9 times 2 gives us 18, and then we have a times 6. Is the same thing as, let's see, 2 times 12, or 2 times 6 is 12, sorry. So we have 9 times 12 and 6 times 18. And those are going to equal the same thing. 18 times 6 is 108. 9 times 12 is also 108. Okay? So again, the numbers didn't switch around, the parentheses did. How we grouped the numbers changed. And last in these charts is the identity property. And that deals with the numbers staying the same. So if we're adding numbers, the only way you can add numbers and not have sort of a different answer is if we add 0. So for example, 4, if we add 0 to it, our answer is 4. All right? Any number plus 0 equals that same number. Okay? If we're multiplying, 8 times 1 equals 8, the rule there is when we're multiplying numbers, any number times 1 is that same number. Okay? So identity revolves around your original number staying the same. If you add 0 or multiply by 1, nothing changes in your answer. Okay, One of the main focuses of this lesson is called the distributive property. And we'll sort of expand on this throughout the year, but we'll start really basic here. There's three main steps if we're multiplying numbers that maybe we don't have memorized in our multiplication facts. There's three main steps that can help us sort of break the problem down to answer a little simpler, a little easier. So the three steps are this. Number one, you break down the numbers. And we'll just keep going here. Break down the numbers into easier numbers to work with. But bottom line is you're breaking down the numbers, okay? Number two is you're multiplying the new numbers that you just got because you broke the first one down. Now you're going to multiply the new ones. And then you add your new products. That a product is the answer to a multiplication problem. Add your new products together. Okay, let's do a quick little example to the side here. So let's say I'm trying to do 7 times 13. Very few of us have 7 times 13 memorized. So what we can do is break apart this 13 that's probably the one that's a little funky for us. Typically, you're going to break the 13 down into 10 and some other number. Okay, so if we think about what adds together to make 13 would be 10 and 3. So this can change into... And that's actually, let's I'm going to erase some of this stuff so we can have some room to work here. 7 times 13. If we break 13 into 10 and 3, so step 1, break down the number that is throwing us off a little bit. Number 2, multiply the new numbers. Okay, so 7 times our new 10. And then 7 times our new 3, okay? And if we multiply these together, we get 70 and 21. And our third step is you add the new numbers, or actually the new products together, okay? If we add 70 and 21, our answer is 91, okay? Let's check it on the calculator to make sure we did that right. So go back up to the top. 7 times 13 is 91, okay? We'll do a few more of these to make sure we understand this. Okay, let's actually jump down here to the distributive property. And if we have time, we'll go back over this top portion. All right, so number 13. 2 times 19. Think about what you can break 19 into, because that's 2 is pretty easy to work with, but 19 may not be. Okay? I would suggest breaking this down into 10 and 9. So if we do 10, 2 times 10, okay? Actually, let's back up. Let's just break it down first. So 10 and 9 makes 19. Second step is to multiply it. Well, so we'll keep our 2 here. So 2 times 10 and 2 times 9. 2 times 10 is 20. 2 times 9 is 18. And our third step is to add those two new products together. So 20 plus 18 gives us 38. If you check that on a calculator, 2 times 19, our first problem, we get 38. So 38 is correct, all right? Let's do 5 times 31, right here. Think about 31. What can you break that into to make it easier to work with? I would suggest picking 30 and 1. So if we take 30 and 1. Those make 31. That's step 1, breaking it down. Step 2 is multiplying it by our 5. 5 times 1 is pretty easy. That's 5. But what about 5 times 30? Okay, anytime a number has a 0 at the end, that usually makes it pretty easy to work with. Okay, the 0 just means you're going to have a 0 at the end on the answer. Okay, but 5 times 3 is 15. So that means 5 times 30 is 150. You just add a 0. Okay, we've multiplied them, and now we're going to add our new products. 150 plus 5 equals 155. I would suggest checking it on a calculator at the end. 5 times 31 is 155. Okay. Now, obviously, you can type these into a calculator and get the answers really quick, but again, using a calculator is a tool in certain situations. It doesn't actually help you learn how to do the distributive properties. So make sure you're working through it first, breaking it down, multiplying, and adding them. And then at the end, you can check your answer with a calculator. Okay, let's do one more, and then if whatever's time is left over, we'll fill some more answers out. All right, let's do 22 times 2. I'm going to break 22 into 20 and 2. Then we multiply them by our original 2. Okay. 20 times 2 is 40. 2 times 2 is 4. And then we add them together and we get 44. Check it with a calculator. 22 times 2 is 44. Okay. I'm going to finish 16, 17, 18 really quick without talking. Check your answers against mine. All right, so that's it for distributive property. Let's see, there's still a little bit of time left on this video, so let me see if we can quickly go back up and work on the other properties we talked about. So number 1, we see parentheses. So we talked about earlier with the associative property, the groups change, the parentheses change. Okay, so that's a quick giveaway. The numbers 1, 6, and 7 are the same order. All that changes in parentheses is right here, okay? So we get, you don't actually have to work these out, but you're just supposed to tell which property it is. So this one is the associative property. I'm just put an A right next to it. Abbreviate more quickly. Okay, 1 times 10 equals 10. Go back up here. That would be identity, okay? Because right here, anything times 1 is that same number. 10 times 1 is 10, so that's identity. Number 3, 3 times 5 equals 5 times 3. There's no parentheses, there's no grouping, but the numbers, they do flip, okay? They both equal 15. Go back up, compare it to the chart. Looks just like this one. Okay, the two numbers switch. All right, so that is the commutative property. All right, we are out of time. We may do some of these other remaining problems in a small group, but if not, this is it for the notes. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for tuning in.